You are now listening to the Motown Sports Talk podcast. Here's your hosts, Jordan and Dalton.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today is Sunday, January 31st, 2021, and we want to thank everyone for listening and checking us out. We're almost to 100 subs, and once we do, we're going to do a pretty big event. We're not sure exactly what we're going to do. Maybe a live stream, maybe a Q&A, something like that. We'll figure it out, so please go ahead and hit subscribe and help us grow. We're almost there. But with that out of the way, let's get into why you're probably here. The Detroit Lions have a brand new starting quarterback that goes by the name of Jared Goff, previously of the Los Angeles Rams, where Brad Holmes previously resided before coming to the Lions. And yes, that means Matthew Stafford is now an LA Ram, which is very weird and hard to say. The trade was obviously Matthew Stafford to the Rams in exchange for a 2022 first-round pick, a 2023 first-round pick, a third-round pick this year, and of course, Jared Goff. So a pretty big return. A lot of people are kind of upset, obviously, because it's Jared Goff, and he obviously hasn't been one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL lately. We'll get into that debate a little bit in a few minutes. I guess, Dalton, what were your initial reactions to the trade when it first happened?
Wasn't surprised is my thing, because the minute I heard that the Rams were interested in trading for Stafford and they wanted to get rid of Goff, I just already figured that was probably going to be our deal, because like you said, Brad Holmes came from LA and he was the one that scouted Jared Goff and got them to trade up for Jared Goff.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured Jared Goff was going to be a part of that trade. I was hoping for some future picks, which we got 2 first-round picks, which no matter what you guys think, this team is not going to be a winner next year, and those future first-round picks are going to turn into players that we need to retool our defense or rebuild this team. Those picks are going to come more in handy, and Jared Goff's just going to kind of help us not just hate watching the Lions. Like, we could go out there and win some games during the season with Jared Goff. I don't hate this trade at all. I honestly absolutely love it.
Yeah, again, my initial thoughts when it first happened was upsetting, because I knew that the Rams didn't have a first round pick this year. So I knew that it wasn't going to be anything significant this year. So we're still stuck at 7 unless we somehow trade up or use our picks.
There is a thing, though, talking about this year, because there's no draft combine or anything. So you're missing a lot of the extra scouting that you would get. So hopefully getting picks coming years, the combine and everything will be there, so then it'll be better to have first round picks future instead of this year.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons everyone was making the Senior Bowl such a big deal, because that might be some of the only time that you get up close and personal with some of these prospects. And a lot of people were making a big deal about some of the bigger name prospects in the Senior Bowl, wondering why they'd even be playing in this, like, such an insignificant game where you could risk injury and stuff. But again, it goes back to what you just said, that there's no combine, there is kind of a combine, but it's just going to be different, and scouts aren't going to be able to be there in person and see. It's all going to be on video and video interviews, Zoom interviews. So it's going to be different. So being able to see somebody up close and get them in your facility and test them, it's going to be basically pro days. And the Senior Bowl is pretty much the only time we're going to be able to see them. So you do have a point there that maybe the picks, hopefully, obviously in the future years, will go back to normal. We'll have a normal combine and people can come to the facility as they wish and stuff like that, like normal. As far as the contracts go, one of the reasons I was pissed off initially is because I thought that we would be taking on all of Jared Goff's dead cap, which is I think it's $65 million, which, if we want to transition over to the Rams a little bit and their future, with Stafford, they basically have a 2-year window to win the Super Bowl, and after that, they are pretty much screwed. Because, again, they have $65 million they're paying to Jared Goff. Obviously, they're probably going to try and split that up over the next few years, not just pay that in one lump sum this year, especially when the cap space is going down. But still, this just kind of leaves them in a really bad situation. They haven't had a first-round pick since Jared Goff in 2016. And, again, they're not going to have one again until 2024. And I'm sure they're going to end up trading that one out, too. Once these guys' contracts run up, Stafford's only good for 2 more years unless they somehow work his contract and extend him. Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, all these guys' contracts are going to be up in the next few years, and they're not going to be able to repay them. So again, they have about a 2, maybe a 3-year window to win the Super Bowl, and if not, it's probably going to be another 5 to 10 years before they get a chance to be back. My biggest thing about the Jared Goff trade is, like you said, this Brad Holmes all off season, or not all off season, but all since he's been hired, has been preaching retool, and not a rebuild. And we know, obviously, that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes are both going to be here for the next 5 to 6 years. So this gives them just a lot more leeway. We have 4 first-round picks if you include this year, we have 5 first-round picks over the next 3 years. Brad Holmes can do with those what he will. Obviously, we're expecting the Rams to be playoff contenders, so they're probably going to be later-round picks in the first round. But still, we could use that as bait to try and trade with other teams. Or we could try and, again, move up this year if they really think that Zach Wilson or Trey Lance is their guy. But, again, with Jared Goff, he's still only 26 years old. He's still a very capable starting quarterback. And again, maybe this is what he needed. Maybe he got comfortable in LA. He's grown up in Los Angeles in California his entire life. He went to high school there, he went to college there, and he's obviously played professionally there. So maybe just a new change of scenery, maybe a little kick in the butt will progress him, and playing under a new system, because obviously we saw he sucked under Jeff Fisher. Sean McVay came in and made him almost an elite quarterback that first or second year Jared Goff or Sean McVay was there. So like I said, maybe just a new coaching staff, some new talent around him. My biggest thing is the wide receivers, though. I think we've got good tight ends with TJ Hawkinson. We've got a good running game with DeAndre Swift. And that's the biggest thing is basically his entire time, his successful time in Los Angeles, he's had an amazing wide receiver group with Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Tyler Higbee, and he's had Todd Gurley for the first few years of his career. And now he's got Cam Akers. Like, he's had a good running game and surrounding group of people around him. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does with the Lions, because it's just wide receivers is what we do with there. That's going to be the biggest question. But Motor City Dan Campbell has come out and said that both Kenny Galladay and Romeo Okwara are they want to re-sign both of them. I don't know how they're going to do that. Obviously, we can only franchise tag one of them, so one of them is going to have to be signed long term.
Like I said, the more I think about this trade, the more I like this trade, because Jared Goff contract past 2022, we can cut him and
for
it's
zero.
Nothing. Yeah, it's
a zero dead cap.
So we can keep him for the next 2 years. This year, we don't see enough on the quarterbacks. We're not going to trade all our draft capital to try and draft one of these quarterbacks when we could wait till next year, draft a quarterback, then have him sit a year behind Jared Goff or part of the year behind Jared Goff, and then after that, get rid of Jared Goff. We can't trade him, or we just don't like him. Or Jared Goff plays amazing, and we don't need to draft a quarterback.
Exactly.
And Jared Goff blossoms into an MVP, leading us to playoffs, leading us to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that I think it's going to happen, but it's a possibility because he is only 26 years old.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. He's still young. And you've seen some, look at all the quarterbacks in the playoffs this year. There we had Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, all 2 above 40. Aaron Rodgers is 37. So he still has hopefully another 10 years in him that he can play. And again, like you said, we basically have a 2-year window to see how he does under a new offense. And again, over those next 2 years, the 2 following years, we're going to have 2 draft picks in the first 2 rounds, which, like I said, we can use those on a quarterback, or we could use both of those to trade up and get a quarterback if there's somebody we really like over the next 2 years. But again,
or we're just bad enough and our pick is a top 3 pick and we don't have to trade up.
Exactly. Honestly, like you said, when I first heard it, I was not happy with it, but then the more I've looked into it, the more I've done research. And I think, obviously, I haven't watched too much film on Jared Goff. I've obviously watched him in the playoffs. I've watched a couple of his primetime games. But I think over the next week or so, I'm going to sit down and actually watch some of the Rams film over the last few years, watch this last year and the year that they went to the Super Bowl, which was his best year statistically of his career, and see what the difference is between now and then, if he's made any mistakes. My biggest flaw My biggest takeaway from him on his flaws is that he does throw a lot of interceptions. He had 13 interceptions this year and 16 interceptions the year prior. So he does have, again, I haven't watched all film. Maybe some of those are tip passes, but I highly doubt 13 of them in 2 years is tip passes. So he definitely has some bad decision making, which can be worked out. Again, we've seen he has the talent. He's thrown for basically over 4,000 yards every single year except for his first year. And again, this gives us more time this year to address the defense, which that's what everyone's saying is we shouldn't go offense. We shouldn't draft a quarterback in the first round and spend our money and blah, blah, blah. So this gives us more time to address the wide receivers, address the defense, and help get the pieces that we really need. And like I said, maybe in 2 years from now, we can address the quarterback and go from there. But I think Dan Campbell, and again, Brad Holmes already knows Jared Goff very well. He, like you said, he scouted him in college, so he knows his pros and cons, and he can help Dan Campbell and Anthony Lynn say what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are. But I do think it's kind of weird that just earlier this week, or a couple days ago, Dan Campbell came out and said that he wants both a mobile quarterback with a strong arm, which I think that's what every NFL team wants, someone who can run and throw it way down the field. Like, who doesn't want that? You don't want either just a running quarterback like a Lamar Jackson who can't throw, or just a pocket passer like Drew Brees or Tom Brady. That's kind of the old style quarterback, the statue in the pocket. But he has had a lot of rushes, but the most he's ever ran for is 108 yards. That was in 2018 when he was selected to the Pro Bowl. I don't know. Again, I'm not completely opposed to it. I'm excited. I think this gives them time to build around the team because Jared Goff, obviously, he's not the best option. But again, when Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have been preaching retool instead of rebuild, this kind of goes in line with that philosophy instead of starting over from scratch with a rookie quarterback, probably a full new wide receiver group and everything. So last thing about Matthew Stafford, this begs the question, how will Matthew Stafford fare in LA? And I think it's fair to say he's going to do amazing. Barring any type of injury to him or any of the players, he's going to have probably the best cast of players, like all-around group he's ever had in his career. Even probably better than the 2014 Lions when we were stacked with Johnson and Sue.
I would say probably a better coach than he's ever had in his career, too.
Yeah, he's going to have probably the best offensive mind besides Andy Reid. But basically, everyone says Andy Reid and Sean McVay are the two best offensive-minded coaches in the NFL. So he's going to be...
Sean McVay wanted Stafford, and Stafford wanted Sean McVay.
Exactly.
So the Rams front office went out and did what their coach wanted, which I absolutely love.
That's what a lot of people have been saying is that Sean McVay... Well, towards the end of the year, rumors came out that Sean McVay and Jared Goff were not on the same page, and apparently it's because Sean McVay wants to do a lot of things offensively that he just physically can't do with Jared Goff because he's not that athletic of a quarterback, where he'd rather have 31-year-old Matthew Stafford in there slinging the football better than Jared Goff can.
I know Kelly Stafford did post that she seems excited about them going to LA. I mean, I'm pretty sure they own a house in LA.
Yeah, they already have a house there.
So I understand why they'd be excited. And I mean, Jordan said this is the best opportunity for Stafford. But NFC West is going to be a stacked division.
Yeah, Stafford wanted to be on a better team. He also got a tougher division. He's got the Cardinals, the Seahawks, and the 49ers. Yep.
If they're healthy.
Yeah, when the 49ers are healthy, again, we don't know who their quarterback is, but even with Jimmy Garoppolo, and again, they have a really good offense. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and then that defense too.
George Kittle.
Yeah, George Kittle, one of the best tight ends in the game. So again, depending on who their quarterback is, they have an amazing defense. Even with, Robert Saleh's gone, so that's going to be interesting to see how their defense is. But still, even when they were injured without Nick Bosa and a couple of their other big name guys in the defense, they still had a really good defense overall. So if they can be healthy, that's going to be a tough, probably the toughest division, that and the NFC South again.
And just so you all know, the Lions do play the Los Angeles Rams this year in Los Angeles.
Yep.
So Stafford won't be coming back home to Michigan, but we will be playing him, and I think that's going to be a really good game because obviously Stafford's going to be playing, wanting to win and stuff, and I think Jared Goff's going to want to go in there and be like, you traded me, like I want to show you what you traded and like what you got rid of. So I think it's going to be a good game, and I'm excited. I'm happy for Stafford that he goes to get a ring. I was even telling Jordan, what if the Rams somehow go out and win a Super Bowl this year. Like, win the Super Bowl this year, and then Stafford just called it quits because he got his Super Bowl ring, he got his playoff wins,
I
and
could
he's
definitely.
just like, I've been injured way too much. Like, I want to spend time with my family now. I don't want to be crippled in 5 years because I kept playing
Exactly.
football. Got my ring, got my playoff wins. Nobody can say anything against me. All right, I'm out. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I could definitely see him doing that with everything he's been through the last few years with his wife going through the brain tumor. He has 4 kids now, 4 young kids. And again, if he does finally win the Super Bowl, that thing he's been chasing for 12 years, most quarterbacks don't even make it 12 years in the NFL. So, like I said, the fact that he's made it this far and been a starting quarterback the entire time, pretty phenomenal. And again, even after 12 years of being a starting quarterback on a terrible team, still a third of the league has been trying to get him. We got 2 first-round picks for him and another starting quarterback from their team. I honestly think this might be the biggest trade for a starting quarterback. And this is the first time in NFL history that 2 first-round picks have been swapped for one another. So I think this trade might be, like I said, a record trade. I can't look into it. I don't know for sure, but I can't remember the last time a starting quarterback was traded for 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and their starting quarterback. It seems like
this was a hit by Brad Holmes.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
And
overall, it was a great trade.
It flips the entire trade market for like a Deshaun Watson or an Aaron Rodgers if he wants out of Green Bay. Like, that completely flips everything. Is Deshaun Watson worth 3 first-round picks?
Yeah, because that's what people were saying was Deshaun Watson's going to take at least 2 first-round picks, and if we can get that for Stafford, what is Deshaun Watson going to draw in? So
So I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to be traded, even though he wants out after the Stafford trade. I think that the Texans are going to look at that trade and be like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Also, another thing I could see happening is if Detroit does want to move up and get a draft pick or a quarterback this year, they could still look to trade Jared Goff
They could.
to a team like the Indianapolis Colts or something like that. But
Yeah.
I don't necessarily see it happening, like me and Jordan were talking, or like we have both said.
Yeah.
He's going to be here for at least 2 years, if not more.
Yeah. The rumors not rumors, but there were reports that came out last night as soon as he was traded that Jared Goff has already talked to Dan Campbell, and Dan Campbell has stated that he is in the future plans for the Lions. So, like I said, you can lock it in. I think Jared Goff's going to be the week 1 starter for the Lions right now. But the following year, again, that is up for question. We will see. I think this is going to be kind of like a Cam Newton experiment. I think Jared Goff was just thrown in there for added appeal, because the Rams obviously wanted to dump his contract, because that is another thing I'm not sure.
They wanted to trade him, but that's weird. Like, we're not taking Jared Goff's contract and 1 first-round pick and a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah.
So that's why we got the 2, because they're like, well, then here's another first-round pick. And
exactly.
Brad Holmes was like, okay, we can do it.
So it's basically a salary dump for Jared Goff, which, again, he does have a higher cap hit this year than Stafford does. I think it's $5 million more. So basically the money we're saving from Stafford is going right back to Jared Goff. So I haven't looked into the cap space situation and how it affects everything. So maybe next week's episode we'll dive a little bit more into our cap space situation, with free agency going to be coming up in about a month next week. So we'll get into that a little bit more.
That's what I was going to say. Start looking forward to those kind of podcasts, talking about free agents and stuff that we could possibly go after.
It's basically going to be a bunch of speculation over the next few weeks till free agency starts and the draft, and just a lot of speculation and rumors. Like I said, I'm glad the Stafford thing's out of the way, because obviously this opens up a lot more stuff. But
it also had a lot of attention throughout the media, everyone talking about where is he going to go, who's he going to be traded to, and everything, and it shuts it all down. He got traded. Let's move on.
Yep. One last thing before we'll move on from the Stafford thing. It really does suck. I'll be honest. I know, obviously, it's what's best for both sides. He's been here for 12 years and hasn't won a playoff game, even though I think 2014 we should have won, but that's another story.
Let's not bring that up.
It just sucks. It literally feels like breaking up with a girlfriend, and now you have to see him with a new guy. It just sucks, because I've been with my wife for 10 years now, and Stafford has been here for 12 years, and it's just I feel like I know him better than I know my wife, and now it's sad that he's gone. It's upsetting, but again, we already got our new guy in, and I guess we got to get on with the honeymoon phase right now and get that going. So, all right, anything else you want to say about Stafford?
Nice way to bring that into the real world, dude. I can't even follow up after that.
All right.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks for watching. Once again, please subscribe and help us get up to 100. And once we get there, again, we'll announce our big event. Not sure what we'll do, but we'll figure something fun out. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you again next time.